You know, whenever I have a bad day at the office, I look to AEW to cheer me up. Not because I have my Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho figures, but because my new Cody figure from Walmart or RingsideCollectibles.com can smash them both. Get out of here. Get to Walmart, pick them up from Jazzwares. A new Monday Night War is being reported on in the dirt sheets at the time, but it's now between WWE on the USA Network once again and the UFC on Spike TV. Now, as a reminder, once upon a time, Raw served as a tremendous lead-in for the UFC's product, The Ultimate Fighter. And The Ultimate Fighter really pulled the nose up for the UFC. They had been hemorrhaging cash, and at one time were even considering selling the property. But the success of this show pops them a big buy rate, and now they're off to the races, and they're going to be profitable really for the first time since the purchase. And once the WWE is now looking at greener pastures, Spike is going to try to litigate it to keep you guys from going to USA Network. Ultimately, they're unsuccessful in that effort. So you guys are back on USA, and it feels like Spike is doing everything they can to counter program you. Eventually, they're even going to get in bed with TNA and have their own wrestling. Chat me up a little bit about this. Was Vince at all concerned or nervous that he now had a new frenemy in Spike TV, and perhaps what he helped build with a great lead in is now going to be competing with him head to head?
No, I don't think so. And they're two different audiences, and I think that there was not really much concern there. So maybe Spike thought differently. And I know that Spike was maybe regretting a little bit, not fighting a little bit harder, but for Spike's purposes, I know that Spike kind of felt that, first of all, they wanted to buy the UFC, and they couldn't because UFC wasn't going to be able to, they just weren't going to, they weren't going to get it done. But I remember hearing from a Spike executive one time that their one wish was for the UFC to get to a point where Dana White could no longer fly private only. I just laughed at that. I thought that was funny. I said, you know what? He goes, the UFC is what it is. He goes, but I hope at some point that they get to the point of that Dana White has to fly commercial. I was like, okay. I don't know Dana. I think I've spoken to Dana one time in my life, and he was extremely gracious and a pretty nice guy to me. So I don't know Dana to comment one way or another.
Man, that's always been my experience with Dana. I met Dana in 2009 backstage at a UFC event. And then I think once in 2014, but then when I was trying to do the whole roaster Ric Flair, Dana was going to be one of the surprise roasters, and he could not have been cooler. And
yeah,
I don't know. Let's talk about that for a minute though, because I am curious the relationship between Dana and Vince, because years ago, and it's probably been several years at this point, Dana was pretty open about, hey, we tried to pattern ourselves after WWE. You know, we looked at what Vince McMahon had done with World Wrestling Entertainment, and we borrowed a lot of their ideas. And you can certainly see that with their entire business model and the way they would sell pay-per-view. But for a long time, Vince McMahon was the undisputed king of pay-per-view. So if you're trying to compete in that space and you're going to have some sort of hand-to-hand combat, if you will, then yeah, he's the blueprint. But I just thought it was really cool of Dana to acknowledge that. Do you know what the relationship is like between Dana and Vince?
I think it was cordial. I think it was good. I don't think it was adversarial in any way. They've spoken over the years and have pretty much done business together. So
I only bring it up because this is around the same time that WWE was looking for a new play-by-play announcer. And a lot of the rumor and innuendo was that Vince wanted Mike Goldberg from the UFC. He was the lead commentator there. And he being Vince, pronouns pal, allegedly wanted Mike Goldberg to accept his offer and jump ship, which would include no showing a UFC event in the process. And I think, as the legend goes, Goldberg asked the Nevada State Athletic Commissioner, or the former rather, Mark Ratner, about this decision and opportunity. And Mark, I believe, was pals with Jim Ross and had his finger on the pulse of pro wrestling more than Mike Goldberg did, and said, that's probably not a good idea to be the guy who sits in his seat. Fans will absolutely hate it, whoever ultimately replaces him. And he winds up not taking the deal. It never pans out. Instead, Vince just has Linda kick Jim Ross in the balls on Raw and tells him he's fired. They fill in a couple of weeks with Coach, and then Joey Styles takes the job for the better part of the next year. What do you remember about the Mike Goldberg thing? Because that does feel like something that, I don't know, when you just said, well, they were pretty cordial, they got along. If you're trying to steal a guy out from under him and say, no, show his event, I don't know if that's necessarily an ally.
I love it when it's portrayed that they're trying to steal a guy from someone else.
Right.
It takes two to tango. And if the guy didn't want to be stolen, or maybe it's the guy reaching out saying, hey, is there any opportunity for me? Maybe I don't want to be where I am anymore. And more times than not, that's how it happens, is that the talent reaches out and says, hey, what is my opportunity over here? Is there anything available for me? But the media, if you will, portrays it as the big bad wolf goes out, I'm going to steal you from this other group. That's not how it happens. If Mike Goldberg didn't want to be, quote, stolen, which that's not how it happened, it would be a non-story and a non-issue. But so oftentimes it happens that talent wants to leave. Talent is either looking for a better deal where they are, so they reach out and try to see if there's anything else out there, or but it's not just like, oh my God, I want you, so I'm going to go steal you. If you don't want to be employed, or you don't want to listen to somebody, you cut it off. And Goldberg didn't do that.
Right.
He was interested in coming in. So it wasn't, I think the portrayal of that sometimes is just unfair on all accounts for the most part. It takes two to tango. And so Mike Goldberg was looking for something else. And Mike Goldberg was looking for, I don't know, greener pastures or different pastures, if you will. And we were looking for fresh talent as well. The two come together and start talking. And that's all it was.
Why don't you think he ultimately pulled the trigger on it? I mean, we know Mike Goldberg's not even with UFC now. I mean, he has moved on, but why don't you think
who stole him?
I love you for that.
That's, well, I mean, obviously he has to be stolen. Stolen, God damn it. What happened I think it was just more money. I think that when UFC heard that he was negotiating with WWE, that they came back in and offered more money.
Well, I'm glad it didn't happen, but I wish we would have gotten a little more JR, but I'm biased. Did you think in this era, and I know we're getting sidetracked here, I mean, he's trying to hire, he being Vince, pronouns pal, he's trying to hire Mike Goldberg. It doesn't work out. He's going to pivot to coach for a little bit. And then eventually Joey Styles takes the spot. Had Vince lost faith and confidence in Jim Ross? Did he just think it was time for a new look? Was he not happy with his work? Was their interpersonal relationship just becoming strained? Why do you think Vince was so adamant? We've got to do something different here. Damn it.
I think that Vince was just looking for new, and that he was looking for a different type, a different feel from the announcing standpoint. And JR, great at what he does. JR is a great play-by-play guy. But at the time, we were looking for something new and something different, just to freshen up the look and, constantly, I remember from day one, from 1987, that constantly, Vince was looking to replace himself. He's like, God damn, I've been doing this too long. And the push was constantly, we've got to do something else. We've got to get new in here, and constantly trying to churn. So it wasn't something new that in 2005, Vince decided, oh my God, I need a new play-by-play guy. From the day I started, Vince was looking to replace himself and Gorilla with the new. He just constantly wanted to churn that position.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.